Welcome to Bookit software demonstration. Bookit is a lab management software that allows you to keep track and manage equipment bookings and usage in your own lab. As a web-based platform, you can access it remotely if you have internet connection. And after logging in with an email and a password, you land on the dashboard. And on the dashboard, in this case, we have a lab admin, Lisa. And Lisa can see her own activities under My Activities, so the equipment that she's booking for herself, and then under Lab Activities, the equipment that other people in the lab are booking for themselves. So as a lab admin, Lisa has an overview of the lab. She sees what equipment is being booked, by whom, and then the start and the end times of these bookings. She can also see the status of these bookings. And in this case, for example, Peter is trying to book the flow cytometer. But Peter doesn't have permission to use it without Lisa's approval. That's why Lisa has an accept and a decline button here. So in this case, this was a personalized booking rule that Lisa enforced for Peter because he's an undergrad and he's not trained to use the flow cytometer. So every time he tries to book it, Lisa needs to approve it because she needs to go with him to the flow cytometer. This is something optional that you can enforce to specific people when they book specific pieces of equipment. After this, you see our beautiful calendar view. This is a weekly view, but there's also a daily and a monthly one available. You have all the equipment organized on the left by rooms, which can also be called lab floors or categories, as you can have as many as you want and you can call them wherever you like. You would see on the calendar in green your own bookings, like this one and this one, and then in gray other people's bookings. In yellow and red you would see announcements, and the red announcement means that the calendar is blocked, and in yellow that the calendar is not blocked, but there's something going on with it that you should know about it. Announcements are a feature that I'll briefly touch later. That's how you can communicate breakdowns, maintenance periods, and other kinds of general warnings that you want people to be aware of. So this is how the dashboard looks like. And now I'm going to teach you how you can book an equipment. So if you want to book a flow cytometer for Friday, for example, you see that this is the equipment you want to book, this is the day you want to book, and then you click on the block. It opens up automatically the equipment's page, and you can see a picture of it that you can upload as well. You'd see the calendar, the requests here, for example, the one we saw from Peter, your own bookings and other people's bookings. So you know that this equipment is actually occupied for Friday, but you want to book it for next week. So next week it's free. And let's say that we want to book it from 9 until 1 p.m. on Monday. So you drag and drop, selecting the time slot that you want. As a lab admin, Lisa can actually book for herself, but also on behalf of other people, which is also possible if you're a technician or the instructor, and if the equipment is something that you're responsible for. But after having the time slot selected, people would see the cost associated with it, if there's one. They can also add notes to this specific booking, and then if they have permission to use funding codes and projects, they will also be able to assign the costs either 100% to one funding code or split it among more than one funding code. Afterwards, they will just click on Book Equipment, and the equipment is automatically booked, and you will be able to see your whole history of bookings. So this is how you book an equipment and how the dashboard is organized. After this, I'm going to briefly touch our features that you see here on the left, from equipment and services overview and uploading, to users management, projects creation regarding funding codes, announcements creation, and then the report feature, which allows you to extract data from the system. Starting with equipment, you see there's an overview option which allows you to see the whole list of every piece of equipment that you have in your own lab. You see in which room is located, and then you can also edit the details of existing equipment at any time. There is no limit of equipment, so you can have as many as you want. And if you want to add a new one, you just click on Add Equipments, and then you fill out general information regarding it. The system also allows you to attach documents and pictures to this specific piece of equipment. Documents normally range from SOPs, guidelines, and protocols, for example. And then the equipment image is the picture that you see on the equipment page every time you book it. Afterwards, you have a pricing information section, a time and availability one, and an initial information one. Regarding pricing information, this allows you to define different prices if you work with external scientists or different prices for internal people as well. So if you don't work externally, you just need to put 1 on these 2 fields as they don't accept zeros. On the internal one, you can simply put 0 or define different prices based on the groups of people that you have in your lab. It's also possible to define prices based on charity grants or research council grants. And again, you can have as many pricing options as you want. Afterwards, if you open the time and availability section, this is when you personalize the booking rules for these equipments. And these rules range from minimum and maximum booking time increments, start step, and then down here is the scheduling for people that belong to your own organization and people that do not. So you can do different schedule for these people if you want to work with them, or if you don't, you simply click No on this button and both schedules will disappear. The additional information section is just regarding lab rules and safety features that you might want to add so people are aware of them. After all this, you create the equipment and the equipment appears under Overview. Again, you can come here and edit the details whenever you want. So equipment, as you saw, is linked to the calendar. That's why it's bookable by hour or by a full day, whereas the services are a more flexible way of offering your equipment but also your expertise. So when adding a new service, you fill out general information the same way you do for equipment. Documents and images are also possible to attach. But then under price and availability, this is much more simple. You just need to leave it empty or fill out the minimum and maximum price if you want people to manage their own expectations. The services work on a case-by-case basis because you can talk to people prior to the service actually happening. So it means that you don't know how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost them. So if you're not sure about it, you just create a service and then you can message the people inside the system and talk to them before agreeing on anything. So this is the equipment and the services, and this is how upload not only your equipment but also your expertise on the system. Moving on to the users management. There's also an overview option which gives you a list of every member registered. You see that they have a specific role according to the access rights that they have, and also they belong or not to specific groups with specific booking rules. You also have an option to invite external collaborators, which we call guests, and these are people that are already using Bookit, so you just need the email address that they register with, if they come temporarily to your lab, for example. So when adding a new user, you tell the system if it's a guest or if it's a member. If it's a member, you're able to define one of these 4 roles, and you'd see here which kind of actions a student, a researcher, a technician, and an instructor can do. The technician can pretty much do anything the lab admin can, apart from inviting users. Whereas the instructor is the way you assign responsibility of specific pieces of equipment to specific people. It's possible that one person is responsible for more than one equipment, and also that two people share responsibility for the same equipment. After selecting the role, you just tell the system the name of the person, email address, and then you invite them. After this person will get a link to register, and they will become active members of your lab. Then you have the groups section. Groups are a nice way of enforcing the same booking rules to specific people and specific equipment. So when you're adding a new group, you name it, and then you define booking rules that range from bookings requiring approval, either from a technician, an instructor, or the lab admin. And this is the example that we saw in the beginning from Peter. You can limit usage per group member to a certain number of hours. You can allow people to cancel, to edit bookings, and then you can also make funding codes mandatory or not. And then you can even define different schedules for people that are trained or not trained. Afterwards, you just assign the equipment that you want and the members. So if we assign the autoclave and Gabriella to this group, it means that Gabriella, every time she books the autoclave, all the booking rules that you define up here will apply. This is how groups work. After the users management and the groups for booking rules, we have a projects section. And the projects are the funding codes that people can use to book equipment. So you can keep track of the equipment usage, but also for recharging students and researchers that have their own grants. So when adding a new project, you name the project, you can assign a supervisor, and then you add the funding code, the funder, to this project. You can also assign an expiry date and an amount. So when the date has passed or the amount is reached, the code becomes invalid and the system doesn't accept it anymore. And then you assign the people that have permission to use these codes. Afterwards, you add the project and you'll see it under Overview. Again, you can come anytime here, delete projects or edit them, and you can have as many as you want as well. Moving to the announcement feature, this is how you can communicate with the people what's going on in the lab. So announcements, we have two options. So you can either do a general announcement, and this is mainly for everyone or just specific people in your lab. And then after filling out the subject and the message, people get notified outside the platform with a normal email, but also appear under the announcements icon. Afterwards, you can also do an equipment-related announcement, and these can go two ways. Either by period of bookings, and then you select the equipment that you want to make an announcement of, or you select the equipment that you know that is going to be unavailable, for example. So if we know that the autoclave will be unavailable, we search for all the users of the autoclave. You see that there's two here, they are automatically selected. And because the autoclave is going under maintenance, we make the equipment unavailable, and this turns the calendar red. And then you select the period in which this equipment will become unavailable, and then you send again a message to the people, and they get notified both ways, outside and inside the platform. Last but not least, the reports feature, it's how you can extract data from the platform, and you can extract data regarding equipment bookings, but also services orders. You can filter by time, by selecting last month, last year, but you can also filter by equipment. You can either download bookings for every piece of equipment or just specific ones. This will give you a CSV file, which you can open with Excel, with all kinds of information regarding the equipment that was booked, the duration of that booking, who booked it, what was the cost associated with that booking, and if they used any funding codes. This is particularly useful when you have to recharge people, so you know exactly what's the price that you need to charge them and to which grounds the person assigned the cost to. I hope you enjoyed Bookit's overview. Please, if you have any question, visit us at www.bookit.org. And we hope to see you using Bookit actively very soon. Thank you very much.